So we're here in the misty Mendips on a farm cluster hedgerow day, and it's lunchtime now, and we've just come up to see this hedge that's being laid. This is a hedge that was apparently neglected for many years, and about 24 years ago this hedge was laid. It was quite sparse, but you can see the old pleaches from when this hedge was last laid. Those are the horizontal ones going down there, and all that wonderful regrowth that we got from that previous lay. But as you can see, 25 years later, this hedge has thinned back out again, and could do with a bit more work. So we're here with Mike Reed, and he's laying this hedge, but also doing a bit of gapping up. So we've got a few hedge whips here, which are going in to gap up some of these sort of more sparse bit of the hedge. And as we come down here, we got Mike, who will tell you a little bit about what he's been doing, hopefully towards the hedge, so we can have a look.
Yeah. If we look at this bit here, it was smothered in old man's beard, and you can see the gaps which have developed through natural neglect over years. Andy, the owner, the farmer, says it was probably 30 years ago that this was laid. Prior to that, it hadn't been touched for 50 years. So it's been a long-term process, and that's the way we think, long-term. So you can see the gaps here. Some of them were actually too far gone to lay, so we've dug down and we've pushed them over. We call it root laying, on the root itself.
Which is not an easy thing to do. I've done a couple of root lays. It's a lot of extra effort, but it's worth it if you're trying to fill a gap. It's worth it if you have to.
This gap. Andy had some whips. We've been putting the whips in as we go, so it's getting pretty, it gets better as you go along, but this is where really the hedge starts to deteriorate in terms of thickness. Up here, which Josh and I laid in blue peter fashion, one we did earlier, we've left this holly as a standard, but we've pegged
That's to stop the witches, by the way,
to fill this gap. So hopefully this will make a nice thick hedge here, and then it gets better. Now we're coming into more traditional North Somerset style hedging, where the stakes are about 1 metre apart alternately, and it's a real regeneration. So sometimes there have been gaps, and we've put some whips in to fill those gaps, gapping up, but we try and get it as low as we can so we get the regrowth from these stalls. This is going to come back. It's like planting a whole load of new trees, but we're using what's there to regenerate. So there's going to be a lot of growth from the base, thickening up the base of the hedge, helping that habitat. And as these come over, we've got dormant buds along here, and those dormant buds will shoot, and that will knit the hedge together. And obviously it'll get wider as we go along. So we've got a few whips put in, but here very much a traditional North Somerset style hedge. And there's a robin down there flitting around in the hedge already. I think it would have been here, but we'd like to claim credit for that.
Fantastic. And behind us is all the piles of brash that we've taken out. What do you think, what are we going to do with the brash on this one?
Well, Josh and I, we invested last year in a biochar kiln, and we recently laid a hedge at Tinsfield, the National Trust site, 200 metres. The hedge was laid around a newly planted orchard about 12 years ago. Josh trained the volunteers how to use the kiln, and 200 metres of brash about this size. The volunteers followed us as we were laying the hedge, and they've produced biochar. Biochar is like small pieces of barbecue charcoal, a lot smaller, but the benefits are huge. That carbon, the gardening team at Tinsfield are going to use that biochar in the gardens, in the walled garden, in the vegetable garden, the wider gardens. They've bought into it, so all that carbon is going to be locked in the soil. It's activated to begin with, it's mixed with compost or something to enrich it, and then that carbon goes back in the soil. So rather than just pushing it up and burning it, and then all that carbon dioxide is released into the atmosphere, it's going to be locked into the soil from another, but improving soil structure. So there's so much more we could do thinking about that. The Yeo Valley local farmer, their estate team were here this morning. They've got a bigger biochar kiln, which we're going to go and see because we're very envious of that. We'd like to be able to use something like that for bigger projects.
Yeah.
If not, shipping it can be great, and then that mulch can be used in many ways. It can be used to mulch the new planting, or if we're planting hedges. There's a lot of uses.
Absolutely.
So,
I've seen fantastic dead hedges made with hedge laying brash,
very much
or
so.
habitat piles. If you want a new tree, plonk a bit of brash there, and you'll get a tree through natural regeneration. So plenty of things to do with the brash that you take out. As Mike says, there's no need to be pushing it up and burning it in this day and age. Brilliant, thank you. Well, this has been marvellous. So this lay now will give this hedge a whole nother lifespan. Hedge laying, Mike here is I call hedgelayers superheroes, because within their chainsaws and their bill hooks, they have the power of immortality. They take a hedge which has like a natural lifespan, and by laying it, all the regrowth that he said that we get from these stalls, that's another generation, that's another life cycle. So we're making hedges immortal, and improving their structure by doing this. I know it looks drastic, but actually this is the way hedges survive in the long term, and they wouldn't without hedge layers like Mike. So thank you very much.
Cheers, Megan.